Luka Doncic didn't just take Dennis Schroder to school, he completely dismantled him. And the entire NBA is losing its mind. After all that jawing on the court back in December, Schroder strutted into that tunnel thinking he was finally going to press Luka. Huge mistake, folks. He had no clue he was walking into a buzzsaw because this situation was already way bigger than just him. The cameras might have caught the trash talk and the league tried to sell you this sanitized PR-friendly version of events, but do not buy that for a second. My insiders on the ground tell me Luka wasn't rolling solo in those hallways and the heavy hitters stepping up to handle business weren't just random homies or mall cops. These guys have a reputation in the league, and it is strictly for handling problems. And when you hear the real story of what went down next, it completely flips the script on this entire incident. Before we even break down the game or the hallway drama, you need to understand this wasn't just some random flare-up that got out of hand. We are talking about two guys from totally different stratospheres of the NBA food chain colliding. And that massive gap in status is exactly why this powder keg exploded. Schroder has always operated with a massive chip on his shoulder. He burst onto the scene as this cocky, speedy guard convinced he was the main character, and hey, give him credit, he managed to stick around. He has been a starter. A sixth man even logged real playoff minutes, but let's be real, his career is defined by constant instability. The guy has been passed around like a hot potato Hawks Thunder Lakers. Celtics Rockets back to the Lakers, then the Raptors Nets Warriors Pistons, and now he is crashing with the Kings. That is a whole lot of different jerseys in a very short window of time. And when you bounce around like that, you never plant roots and you never really impact a franchise's legacy. Every single stop becomes a job interview and every matchup feels like a personal insult. It explains why he plays like a guy desperate to prove he belongs in the VIP section, when he never actually owns the room and the fans see right through it. I mean, there is a reason the journeyman label is glued to him. But here is the kicker, his mouth is constantly writing checks that his resume just cannot cash. Dennis chirps like he is a perennial all-star, but his production has always been in that solid but replaceable tier. He is fast and annoying, sure, but nobody is terrified of him. He has never been the guy on a contender, and he has certainly never carried a franchise on his back. Yet he trash talks like a first-ballot Hall of Famer, and that delusion is exactly where the trouble starts. We saw it with the Kevin Durant beef Dennis got in his feelings during international play and dragged that baggage right back into the NBA season. You see it in how teammates and rivals describe him as the guy who brings a flamethrower to a candle lighting. Now flip the script to Luka Doncic, and it is night and day. The kid walked into the league with a giant bullseye painted on his back. You had this European teenager with insane hype swagger and an old-school game that immediately made grown men look foolish the second he stepped on the floor. So from day one, the vets came for his head to see if he would fold. They pressured him, 94 feet ran. Their mouths tried to bully him physically, and every single time Luka gave them the same answer. He just smirked, torched them, and fired back without ever breaking a sweat. Luka doesn't need to scream because his game does all the talking. He waits until he has already crushed your spirit, then drops a one-liner that cuts straight to the bone. That is why it stings so bad. And honestly, you're not going to punk him physically either. The dude is a tank in disguise. He absorbs contact, and when things get nasty, he actually levels up. That arrogant calmness is kryptonite for opponents, especially guys who are already frustrated guys exactly like Dennis. And that is the root of this entire mess, even if it initially looked like just another garden variety shouting match between competitors. But if you actually pay attention to their track records, it becomes painfully obvious this beef was never staying between the lines. You have one alpha who responds to threats by dominating, and another guy clawing for respect he never quite gets. And when those psychologies crash, nobody is walking away calm. It boils over. Fast forward to December 28th of last year, an absolute time bomb waiting to go off. It was the Lakers versus the Kings, and Luka Doncic was out there proving why he is in a galaxy of his own. He put up 34 points, dropped 7 dimes, grabbed 5 boards drained, 5 triples, swiped the rock a few times, and basically held the entire arena in the palm of his hand. Meanwhile, Dennis is struggling with 11.7 assists and a minus in the box score, pouting because reality wasn't matching his ego, which is just classic Schroder energy. Look, we all know the guy is a hothead, but that night Luka was literally taking him to school and the whole world was watching. Here is where the drama spikes. Though it wasn't just the stats, it was the disrespect. After getting thoroughly outplayed, Schroder decided to make the worst possible decision, made the dumbest move he could have. He straight up went to Luka and told him he But the guy clearly had amnesia about who was standing in front of him. Midway through the third quarter, Luka hits Dennis with a verbal dagger that if you actually follow the league is going to make your head spin. And we aren't talking about simple trash talk here. This is total psychological warfare. You gotta remember, back when Dennis was rocking the purple and gold, he reportedly fumbled a massive 4-year, $84 million extension. I'm talking generational wealth that would have locked him in as the Lakers' floor general. A guaranteed bag, the spotlight, the whole 9 yards, but nope. He turned his nose up at it. Maybe his ego got in the way. Maybe he thought the grass was greener somewhere else. Either way, he walked away from the deal of a lifetime. Flash forward to December 2025. And now Dennis is rotting away on a Kings squad that's spiraling while Luka is casually dropping 34 points on his head. But wait, it gets even juicier. According to the lip-reading sleuths who broke down the tape, Luka leaned in and delivered the kill shot.
Luka challenged him.
Step up or shut up energy. The wildest part, Luka is cooking him while the game is still live. You could literally see Dennis boiling over with rage. Every move Luka made was designed to get under his skin, and Dennis just couldn't handle the heat. Let's be real, if they actually threw hands right there on the hardwood, it would have been a massacre for Dennis. Luka is 6'7" and built like a linebacker, while Dennis is barely scraping 6 feet. There is no reality where Dennis keeps his teeth in that fight. Luka has been bullying full-size centers his entire career. It's supposed to be David versus Goliath, but in this version, Goliath is the one with the skills and the size, and David is just delusional. Meanwhile, the Kings were tanking into oblivion, sitting at a pathetic 8-24 record, while the Lakers were finally getting their act together. But here is the conspiracy theory dirt that nobody is talking about. Rumor has it the Jokic brothers Strahinja and Nemanja were in LA specifically to back up Luka, their brother Nikola's best bud. By the final buzzer, the scoreboard confirmed what we all knew: the Lakers absolutely smoked the Kings. The vibe was toxic. You just knew the second that clock hit 0, fireworks were going to go off. It was the perfect storm because Dennis's ego wouldn't let him just walk away. He felt like he had to prove something. But Destiny and a couple of massive Serbian brothers had a different script in mind. You thought the drama ended at the buzzer, please. That was just the warm-up act. 40 minutes after the Kings cleared out, Dennis pulled what might be the single most idiotic stunt of his career. Dude was stomping down the hallway, still steaming from the loss, convinced he was going to have a tough guy showdown with Luka Doncic. Multiple sources confirmed that Dennis was running his mouth nonstop. He allegedly screamed at Luka, "You can't disrespect me on the court and act like we're cool off it." Let me translate that for you. My feelings are hurt because you embarrassed me in front of thousands of people and I need to save face. Pure insecurity. Now here is where the narrative gets twisted. The media tried to spin this as Dennis just attempting to strike Doncic. That's the corporate NBA line. He got slapped with a 3-game suspension and coughed up nearly $292,000 in fines. Most fans read the headline and thought that was the end of it. But that is just the tip of the iceberg. This wasn't just a heated argument in a hallway. Dennis actually tried to lunge at him. And that is when the night took a legendary turn. Enter the enforcers. Insiders and witnesses confirmed that Strahinja and Nemanja Jokic, Nikola's terrifying older brothers, were right there. Let's take a beat. If you know anything about the Jokic clan, you know they are not exactly subtle. Their reputation is the stuff of nightmares, especially when it comes to protecting their own. The hallway scene was chaotic. Dennis was huffing and puffing, thinking he could press Luka. Then the Jokic brothers stepped into the frame. Picture it. 2 massive Serbian dudes looking like they bounced for the mafia, stepping up like absolute brick walls to defend their brother's boy. Dennis did the math real quick and realized this wasn't a one-on-one fade anymore. Witnesses say the energy shifted instantly and Dennis went from predator to prey in seconds. The hallway where Schroder thought he was going to reassert his dominance turned into the spot where he got checked and sent packing. That is exactly how witnesses described it. He tucked tail and ran. The brothers handled business so efficiently that the streets are saying Luka is seriously considering putting them on the payroll as full-time security. Let's keep it 100. After watching how fast they neutralized Dennis, you would have to be out of your mind not to want that kind of muscle in your corner. In the background, you had DeAndre Ayton and the arena security team frantically scrambling, barely stopping the situation from turning into an absolute bloodbath. Reports say Ayton threw his body in the middle like a human shield, but the Jokic brothers, they were already in formation, creating a wall of meat that ensured Dennis couldn't even dream of getting near Luka. The security team was just going through the motions, sticking to the rulebook, but insiders are whispering that the truly terrifying part was the lightning-fast reaction time of the Jokic clan. They didn't just handle it, they shut it down. Now, we need to address the elephant in the room, the league's disciplinary action, because, let's be real, something about it stinks to high heaven. On paper, the league slapped Dennis with a 3-game vacation and docked his pay by roughly $291,000. But the math isn't mathing, and every analyst worth their salt knows it. You don't get grounded for that long unless you actually connect or tried to take someone's head off. We're talking serious malicious intent here, folks, not just some harmless whiff in the air.
Yeah, I don't think there was an attempt. There was a successful, I don't know if it's open hand, but he got to Luka Doncic. And to be honest with you, you don't get 3 games for like running around in a hallway. That's not what you get 3 games for.
That right there. That's the smoking gun that validates every single rumor. It's crystal clear the NBA front office was frantically scrambling, running a PR cleanup operation to save Dennis's image in the press, while secretly admitting behind the scenes that he absolutely took a cheap shot at Luka. But here's where the story goes off the rails. Dennis practically sabotaged his own defense the second the verdict dropped. He hopped into the comment section and posted laughing emojis, openly mocking the league for calling it a mere attempt. If you needed a confession, that was it. He was basically broadcasting to the world that whatever went down was way more than a close call. So to the casual fan, the headline was simple. Schroder tries to hit Luka, gets a 3-game timeout, end of story. But if you peel back the curtain, insiders paint a picture that's absolutely humiliating for Schroder's ego. He rolled up thinking he was the predator, only to find out he was the prey. He tried to press the issue and got completely owned. And that brings us back to the Jokic brothers. You see Nikola as this humble, quiet genius on the court, but the crew rolling with him. That is a whole different level of intensity. Strahinja and Nemanja aren't your typical entourage hangers-on posturing for the cameras. These guys are legitimate Balkan nightmares, and they have the criminal records to back up the reputation. Take Strahinja, for instance. The man's rap sheet is basically a giant warning sign that screams, "Touch my family and you die." You want evidence? Let's rewind to April 2024 Game 2 of the Nuggets-Lakers playoff series. Some fan decided it was a smart idea to get slick and run his mouth at him. Just your average heckler thinking he could chirp from the safety of the stands. Before anyone could blink, Strahinja is spider-crawling over the seats like a man possessed and pow drills the guy squarely in the jaw. We're talking instant concussion, lacerations, deviated septum, the works. That is the level of violence we are dealing with here. The footage instantly lit up social media, and naturally the cops slapped him with third-degree assault and issued a restraining order to keep him away from the victim. Fast forward to October 2025, he cops a plea deal downgraded to trespassing and disorderly conduct and walks away with 1 year of probation.
We're learning Nikola Jokic's brother has been criminally charged in that brawl at a Nuggets game back in April. Strahinja Jokic is being charged with assault in the 3rd degree, knowingly, bodily injury too. According to court documents, Jokic said he felt he did nothing wrong because he was, quote, defending an older man that he's known for a long time.
But that's exactly the mentality he carried into that tunnel showdown with Schroder and Luka. Now toss Nemanja into the equation. He might not be as explosive as Strahinja or end up on World Star as often, but don't get it twisted, these brothers operate like a military unit. They are ride or die for Nikola. You come at the MVP, you're declaring war on the whole bloodline. Look at what happened in 2021 during that Nuggets Heat clash. Jokic got into it with Markieff Morris. Things got ugly, shoves were exchanged, and both guys got tossed from the game. But here is where it gets gangsta. Strahinja and Nemanja didn't just sit back and let the league handle it. These guys literally didn't even have Twitter, but they made accounts that same night solely to publicly threaten the Morris twins. The ultimatum was crystal clear. You want a piece of Nikola, you've got to go through us first. The entire league sat up and paid attention. The Morris twins even went on a podcast later joking about setting up a boxing match. But beneath the jokes, you could tell they respected the danger. They knew the brothers' reputation for never backing down from a fight. That's the word on the street in the NBA. You don't just casually start beef with the Jokic clan. Now are they signed UFC fighters? No, not on paper. But don't get it twisted, these guys live in the gym and they know how to hurt people. Their physical presence alone is enough to make grown men flinch. And if you believe the underground whispers, these guys are practically unsanctioned martial artists in their own right. And that right there is exactly when Dennis Schroder got a brutal reality check. Be careful whose cage you rattle. If DeAndre Ayton hadn't stepped in to play bodyguard, we're talking about a situation that would have gone from bad to catastrophic in a heartbeat. Let's keep it real. Schroder's reputation in the league has always hovered somewhere between entertaining villain and absolute clown show. But that hallway incident with Luka, that was the moment the mask slipped and all the whispers about him turned into screaming headlines. Now, we're finally seeing the truth peeling back the layers to realize this wasn't just a bad night. It's the climax of a toxic pattern that's been brewing for years. When you carry yourself like that, constantly antagonizing everyone in sight, you're bound to run headfirst into a beef you can't handle. Enter Kevin Durant. This whole mess ignited after the 2024 Paris Games, when Schroder decided to trash talk the NBA, claiming European ball is pure genius IQ while the US is just a flashy circus. That kind of statement, that's asking for war, because you don't bite the hand that feeds you, especially when you're roasting the highest level of competition on the planet. So naturally, KD, a 14-time All-Star and arguably the deadliest scorer ever, wasn't about to let a role player run his mouth. He drops a photo with Team USA's gold captioned, "Entertainment and IQ," basically flexing on the entire continent of Europe. He didn't even have to tag Schroder. Everybody on NBA Twitter knew exactly who that bullet was meant for. But Dennis being Dennis couldn't just take the L and move on. Instead of chilling out, he hops on Twitch and attacks Durant, personally calling him weak, like he's in any position to judge a legend.
And they won, and Kevin Durant tweet high IQ and entertainment. For me, that's just being weak.
That line instantly gave fans something to hold on to.
Fans immediately tore him apart because, seriously, who do you think you are coming at a basketball god like that? A journeyman with 0 rings doesn't get to question the heart of a guy who's been dominating the league for over a decade. It's not bravery, it's delusional arrogance. It's the same reckless ego that made him think he could punk Luka Doncic, a guy playing at a level even LeBron respects too much to mess with. But the beef with Durant is just the tip of the iceberg. The real reason people roll their eyes at Schroder is his chaotic resume. The guy is the definition of a suitcase. He's been passed around the NBA like a hot potato nobody wants to hold for too long. He started with the Hawks back in 2013, had 5 decent years. But let's be honest, they never looked at him and saw a franchise savior. By 2018, he's in OKC, trying to prove a point. Then the Lakers pick him up in 2020, putting him center stage. Then it's off to Boston in 2021, Houston in 2022, and then crawling back to the Lakers that same year. At that point, you have to ask yourself, is the league conspiring against him, or is he the problem? Then you've got Toronto in 2023, Brooklyn in 2024, a stint rumored with Golden State, and now Sacramento, that's 10 squads in 12 years. His entire career feels like one never-ending tryout. You can smell the desperation, that constant need to scream, "I belong here," every time he steps on the floor. The harsh reality is that Dennis isn't building a legacy. He's just a trade chip, a filler piece used to make the math work for actual superstars. The running joke is that he's always packing his bags, never the guy a GM actually wants to keep. And the irony is sickening when you remember, this is the same dude who called the trade deadline modern slavery. He put those words in the universe, and the universe responded by shipping him out over and over again. It's almost poetic justice. The NBA has 0 patience for guys who act like alpha dogs but have the resume of a bench warmer. He's never carried a squad, never made All-NBA, yet he struts around like he owns the place. But cross the ocean. And it's a different story in Europe. He's basically royalty. For Germany, he's the captain, the man, the myth. But in the NBA, he's just another guy filling a jersey. That disconnect is exactly why the backlash was so fierce. People are tired of the double standard. The internet went absolute nuclear when the story broke, with fans roasting him into oblivion. It got so bad that even other NBA players started chiming in to laugh at the chaos. Iman Shumpert tore into the situation, calling out the sheer arrogance of Schroder, believing he could press Luka like that and walk away unscathed.
When you start talking about the NBA, people forget these are grown men. People have kids.
Fans even went ahead to do side-by-side.
People are already digging through the archives, posting comparison videos, because we all know this script by heart. It is the same old story. Think back to Ron Artest igniting the malice at the Palace, Rasheed Wallace terrorizing the locker room, or Draymond Green treating practice like a boxing match. Let me tell you, the league is built on a legacy of players losing their cool, but every single one of those guys had the talent to back up the trash talk. That is the massive gap between Schroder and the real killers. It is just total dysfunction. Schroder honestly thought he could roll up on Luka in that hallway and run the show, but he got shut down instantly. This wasn't an accident. This was a calculated explosion. Years of silent tension finally erupting in that corridor? Now I want to hear from you. If you were trapped in that hallway, whose side are you taking? Give me your pick.